Hello, and welcome to Balance and Bottom Lines with Rebecca. Today's episode is focused on mental well being. Joining us today is April Starks. April is proud to be a servant leader in our community. She is the Chief Steward Officer of Olive Tree Resources and owner of ALS LLC, a certified SBA women owned small business. Her three core values, embracing, empowering, and elevating, are displayed in her three core services: counseling, training, and mediation. Welcome, April.
Thank you, Rebecca. I appreciate you for allowing me to be on this episode with you.
Yes, I'm truly honored to have such an amazing woman on this podcast, supporting individuals, but especially women in and outside the women in and outside the community, something I'm super passionate about. I love your three core values. How did you come up with that?
Well, interestingly, I looked kind of over the course of my career and saw a common thread in pretty much every job that I've had, any encounter that I allowed myself or endeavor to be a part of. These three words just stood out that there was constantly an emphasis upon embracing individuals, specifically leaders, because I personally feel like we all have some aspect of leadership within us. And it really hits home for me when it comes to teens because I want them to see that earlier, sooner than later. Embracing individuals where they are, no judgment, no particular preconceived notion of the individual, but literally embracing them right where they are and allowing through those encounters that empowerment just automatically evolves from that because I always strive to give. I live by the motto of Maya Angelou. She said, when you learn, you should want to teach. Like there should be something in you that wants to teach. And when you get, there should be something in you to give. And so I always want to do that. So I operate in the aspect of empowerment in some shape, form, or fashion. And then to elevate people, to allow them to be to a place where they feel most comfortable or where they want to stand and to be, not necessarily where I want, but where they feel elevated. So I could celebrate them. And that involves sometimes literally in my head because I'm very analytical in the sense of I need visuals. But when I think about elevation, I literally think about an elevator. There are people that may jump on with me for just a ride to the second floor and then they get off, right? And then I may meet another person and we go further together and they may be with me until we get up to the 30th floor. And so I recognize that sometimes people are in and out, but that's the goal. You just elevate them to where they need to be. It might have just been for the second floor for one person and the other person needed to ride with you a little longer. So that's where it came from. I'm sticking with it. I feel like it's a part of my life's purpose. And I just love that's what I kind of thrive off of
Yeah.
embracing, empowering, and elevating.
Yeah. I love it. Truly, truly love it. I mean, empowering those three words that you chose are words that I use on the regular. Um, especially empowering people, giving them the tools that they need. I do a lot of training and coaching and developing in my role in banking. So
Yeah.
that's something I truly pour into people. It's something I'm passionate about, and meeting people where they are because everyone's not in the same place or the same headspace. So being able to work with them where they are is truly important. I love that. And then you're right. I mean, elevating, helping them get to the next level. I love to do deep dive conversations. Where do you see yourself in the next 3, in the next 5, in the next 10 years, especially with those younger individuals? You brought that piece up, and yes, I truly love helping them grow and evolve and learn, and just seeing them succeed in life. And just to kind of tap into, you mentioned, there are so many resources available now for the younger generation that
Mhm.
that were not available when I was younger. And it is amazing how far we have come with that and the help that is out there for those individuals in need, and truly even those that aren't in need can utilize the services. And it's so important just to have that unbiased person to talk through, something, whatever it is that you're going through.
Yes,
And especially in those teenage years, it's critical. It's critical. Let's
yes.
dive in. Yeah. Let's dive into your journey as a therapist and why you're so passionate about it. Where did it come from and how did you start?
Well, if you don't mind, I want to thank you because to your point of your desire to empower people, I can honestly say that I am a person that you display that to. And I want to thank you for that. You may not realize that, but times that you have invited me to networking sessions, and sometimes I'm feeling uncomfortable and I'm getting out of my comfort zone. And in your own special way, you were meeting me where I was, and you allowed me to have a space. You invited me to the space to have those empowering moments. I met some great people. Even, one session you had invited me to, I met someone that actually impacted me and then in turn impacted some of the young people I was working with. So you built a whole connection, not realizing that. So I wanted to acknowledge that and thank you for that opportunity. So yes, you are true to your word that you love to do that. I'm a living witness.
That
Living
that
witness.
warms my heart. That truly does because you are not, not to toot my horn, but you're not the first person that has told me that. And I'm a person that I want everyone to feel included. I'm very much about being included. And so there's many people I've met, you bring up networking where we've been in events and someone will walk up, when I'm having a conversation with another individual and I actually turn my foot and open my body to them to make sure that they know they are welcome and they are included in the conversation. I didn't realize I did that until a few people brought that up and I want people to grow, to learn, to feel included, to so thank you. I mean truly, truly from the heart. That is exactly who I am.
Yeah,
So
that is who you are, genuinely, and I really appreciate you for that. And that speaks to even that well-being part because everyone wants to feel that level of inclusion in some way. My husband and I, we always um, tease each other about the theme song for Cheers, the show Cheers. Like everybody wants to be somewhere where they feel like someone's their friend, right? Everybody's their friend, or they can feel a part of it. And that is essential for our well being, that social interaction and how much we can empower. Back to that key word, we empower each other. And that self healing component begins to happen, even for us emotionally, mentally. And it brings that well being. And I think I'll move into answering your question. Thank you for asking that. What drove me to go into this path of counseling, and that is I felt like I wanted to be what I needed. That's where it stemmed from. And I was going through a very difficult time. Um, there was a space in my life and it was hard and I didn't really understand. And I said, I think I want to just go into counseling to get my master's and maybe to help me. I really just was being self-centered at the moment because I wanted it to really help me understand some things. And in turn, maybe it would evolve into something. But I felt like I wasn't ready for that because I was so kind of broken and I can honestly say throughout my coursework to receive my master's, it was for me. Day one in the first class, the professor says, listen, I need you all to get a counselor yourself because there's no way you're going to make this in the profession. Every counselor needs a counselor. It's important for you to have that space. And if I did not have that push by going through that program, I probably would have never explored even getting help for myself. So out the gate, I knew I was like, this is perfect just for me. So I got the help that I needed to work through some things and progression into the coursework. I literally had textbooks that had my personal tears in it because those words in the book were speaking directly to me. And so I had a whole healing process in getting my degree. And it even took me a couple of years after I got my master's to even start the work of helping others because it was honestly for me. And so I'm glad I took that opportunity for myself, which allowed me to have some lived experience and educational experience to then help people and to be what I needed for myself as a teenager, also as a parent, because when I first had my oldest son, I thought I was going to lose it as well because I didn't know what to do. I felt so lost. I felt so alone. I was going through postpartum depression and I had to work through it. And I didn't go get help, because I think that speaks to even a lot of cultural things for me and my family background. And being a young girl, I share this story with people all the time and even my clients to make them feel comfortable in their first visit with me. That I was very hesitant to go talk to someone because I remember when I was about 8 or 9 years old, I went to the babysitter's house and shared something from my home, like something that happened. And my babysitter told my mom, well, when I got home, I got a spanking for talking, like for saying it. And I just remember my mom's exact words. She was like, "You never repeat things in my house that was said in my house." So from a young girl, I was muted. You don't talk,
Right.
you don't tell. And then I associated talking and telling with you're gonna get a spanking.
Mhm.
So with that scenario, who's gonna go to talk to a counselor, right? You're not gonna
Right.
do that. You've been taught and conditioned that we don't do that. And
Mhm.
so that's why I strive to be what I felt like I needed. And so my mom, she didn't know. I mean, that's probably how she was raised and how she was taught to do. But um when we know better, we do better. And so I'm glad that I gave myself permission to do better. And now I utilize it to help other people to unmute themselves, to share, to talk, and to know that their voice is valued.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that, and truly, I mean, being able to walk through that experience probably makes you a better therapist because you went through
Yes.
that. And then, having one yourself, I'm sure that helped provide you the tools that you needed and that personal experience to help others. So, there is a saying, and I truly believe it. You've got to help yourself first before you can help others. If we're
Yes.
not in a good headspace, we can't be there for others. And I tell a lot of, people, my staff that I have, family members, I'm like, you've got to take care of you, or you're not going to be able to be there for the children, for the ones that need you. So you've got to do physically and mentally the things so that you can cope and deal. I mean, life's hard. I mean, let's
Well,
be honest.
well,
Life
mhm.
is hard.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
really talking to someone, it truly, truly helps. What are some services that you provide at Olive Tree Resources, as well as, ALS LLC?
Yeah. So for Olive Tree Resources, which is a 501(c)(3) nonprofit organization, and it was strategically set up that way so that we can serve in a modest means to no cost service model that we desire to function in, so that no one's turned away, so that people can get services that they need, that no teen is ever turned away. I don't care if that parent doesn't have the money, that it's not the issue here. It's going to be for them to get the services that they need. And we strive to fulfill those financial needs through grants, through fundraising, through sponsors who support and believe in what we're striving to do. And we try to keep it at a modest means rate as well, so that if people don't have insurance or they feel that they can't afford other services, they can at least come and get services that are affordable for them through Olive Tree Resources. Um, and that includes the counseling piece. We also have a teen life leadership development and mentorship program that is for middle school and high school age students. It helps them begin to navigate what it looks like for their future careers and job placements. So many of them, I was so proud of them this summer. So many of them got their first job. So we were able to take them through their interviewing skills and their resume and different tools that they need. And I will say this with that part, just to throw that in there, because our local schools have some phenomenal programs that meet those needs. But I always tell people everybody plays a part and working together works. Because although some of our educational foundations have these programs in the school, we're still missing some gaps of students. And so if other entities offer those services, that's okay. That's still good. We're still all working together. And I like to bring that up because some people think, well, hey, it's a duplication of services. They have that at school. But I'll tell you, these students right here, somehow, some way, I don't know, they weren't connected with the services at the school. And so we would have missed them if those services weren't available at Olive Tree Resources. So it's not a competition. It's just that we're working together to make sure the net is probably expanded, that we're not missing individuals. So I love that we're able to provide that as an alternative. But I do give kudos because it is available in schools. I want people to know that as well because our schools do a good job with providing those services. But Teen Life offers that. It allows them to showcase if they have a skill, if they're an artist, or some of them want to start their own businesses. And so every September, we have a what we call a Teen Harvest Showcase, and they're able to showcase whatever their particular passion is. And this past year, we did it at Farmers Market. And it was great. They enjoyed that exposure. So those are some of the programming things that we offer for the teens. And then we have different trainings that we may offer for them to enhance maybe communication skills. We've done things like paint and smoothie, and they love that event. That allows them to get some creativity flowing up, as well as deal with some of the social, emotional traumas that our young people have post 2020. Um, they have not wanted to really be in crowds, or social anxiety has went up, like it's heightened. So we strategically have events so that they can come together in small group settings and begin to help work through some of those difficulties and feel more comfortable engaging in social settings through what we offer. And then we have mediation services because some families need that mediation piece. They may not need the counseling. I always say mediation is like the cousin of counseling. Because it is where, like, the counseling is for you to make sure that you're working on you and having your self care component, and then the mediation piece is how to have a healthy, structured care with others. So we have someone help mediate the two situations to come to mutual agreement. So they kind of work hand in hand.
Yeah. Mean, you offer quite a bit. I really love how, you are helping that elevate word comes back to me. You are helping the children, elevate themselves.
Mhm.
Those social skills are so important. Communication. I don't know if this is something that has contributed to the lack of social skills that we have in our society, but what do you think about cell phone usage and social media and things of that nature? Do you feel like that's played a major role in that lack of social ability?
Yes, because it's easier to talk to, someone on the device than actually have them face to face with you. And the time frame that the young people had to stay at home, it just increased it more because that was their only social outlet because they weren't going to school. And so the screen time definitely increased for them to have those interactions. And so now, when you're just sitting in the room with your peers, it's hard to put your phone down. And it's like, but they're right here. Can we have a conversation in the present time, like real time together? And they could be sitting on the same couch and be on the phone. Um, and not having that time together. And so, yes, it has definitely impacted that. And then teaching the balance of when to put it down and
Mhm.
give yourself, I always say give yourself permission because we have to like really hammer that to let ourselves know that we have the power of choice to say, giving myself permission to put my phone down for this 30 minutes that we're eating dinner at the restaurant or at our dining room table, and don't even bring it to the table. It's the choice and conscious awareness every single time for them. And so even when you're dealing with adolescents and they're already trying to develop that frontal lobe decision making portion of our brain, then we have to be the reinforcers because they haven't solidified that difference between right and wrong all the time fully. And we have to say, well, you're not bringing it to you know, leave it in the car until we leave old Charlie's or wherever. And then my daughter's huffing and puffing, and you got to bring them out and pull them in and let them know it's going to be okay. Like 30 minutes without your phone, like you're still going to be fine. You're going to be okay. It's a whole counseling process, right? So just,
Yes. It truly is like that, and not even just children, but adults, when you're sitting in somewhere, it's like you constantly have to be even my work is plugged up to my phone, and so, it's like I'm constantly checking emails. I get those email alerts, and it's like, "Ooh, I need to do this," or, "I've gotta take
mhm,
care of this," and,
uh-huh,
it's a constant, like, constantly on, and I've found days, I don't know if you've experienced this or had anyone who has, but there's been days where, like, by the end of the day, I've been on so much that I feel it, like,
yeah,
literally can feel it that and it's not good, and so I have now set times, in the evening, um I don't my phone is up for the night unless, a family member can call through if it's an
mhm,
emergency, but my phone goes up. I'm not on my phone after certain times in the evening. I have set some boundaries for myself because I too can be guilty of that. And, I know the increase of anxiety, depression, sleep disturbances from being on the blue light screen late at night. It's just, and it's unhealthy, but, that is the society that we are in. It's moving faster than we are
mhm,
moving.
mhm,
Um, and then you couple that with, you know, "Oh my gosh, did I get a like? Oh, nobody liked my post," or "Nobody
yeah,
liked my picture," or, the filters. I mean, the filters is something that I truly it saddens me because it has given so many people this false sense, and unfortunately, there's so many younger and older, I'm in my 40s, women that are trying to live up to this, you know, un this expectation that is not achievable without plastic surgery or something of
that's right.
that nature, and it
Mhm,
has just caused a trickle effect of people being unhappy with themselves. It's truly sad.
yes,
Um,
yes,
yeah.
and it can impact our mental well-being. So we do have to set those boundaries, and I agree with you, not just adolescents, but as adults. Myself in my 40s, I have to watch and make conscious decisions to give myself breaks from my phone. And one thing, for example, like even when we did something non-traditional for Christmas. We just took a little vacation. We didn't do gifts and stuff. We just took a little vacation. And I told myself, no phone. Like I'm not answering anything. I'm not gonna call anybody. I told all the people that I know that I constantly talk to pretty much on a daily, please forgive me, but just know for the whole week you won't hear from me. If you text me, I probably am not going to text you back. If you call me, then I'll know it's an emergency. And so
How
I had a
how did
whole
you feel?
I felt very relaxed.
Yeah.
I didn't feel the pressure of like looking and seeing and I just allowed myself that whole week to not be on my phone, and it was very, very refreshing. So, we just have to set those boundaries from time to time and give ourselves a vacation or give ourselves a break or set those, things on our phone. Like, my phone at a certain time, I believe it's about 9, it sends me a message, they start winding down, and I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah.
And then I believe I have it set for 10, that it goes to do not disturb.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, setting those boundaries, I'm sure that's something you talk about with your clients, setting those, just small but instrumental boundaries within their day and allowing you use the word, allowing yourself, telling yourself that it's okay. I mean, that's super important to do. Exactly. So it sounds like you have a lot of resources available. We've talked a lot on the kid side, which is absolutely awesome. For the adults, you offer resources, and it also
Mhm,
sounds like you do some coaching and some personal development with them, which is pretty awesome. Can you
mhm.
speak a little bit about that part?
Yes, we have our, power parenting sessions, that individuals enjoy, and it helps them because we know there's no cookie cutter process to this parenting thing. I have a 21-year-old, 20-year-old, and a 16-year-old, and I'm still learning. I'm learning so much from my daughter right now, and things that I did not encounter with my boys, and so um, I'm always looking for opportunities to learn as a parent. And so power stands for parents overcoming with wisdom, education, and resources. So we can utilize our wisdom from the times that we were 16. Now that she's 16, I'm like, I kind of remember what it was. Uh, and then we have to use those educational pieces. That's where the training comes in, just getting resources from different areas and people. Like you said, there's a lot of things out there for us. And then utilizing those resources for us as parents is important. So the power parenting sessions are really well. We do personality assessments for adults that help on a personal level as far as your family or your interrelational interactions with others, as well as your professional career. So it's multifaceted in what it can do for you um, as an adult. So we utilize that, and then we do have professional development workshops. We have wealth empowerment opportunities for people so that they can keep before them the power of generational wealth and not just live for now, but for the future. And so we've had workshops to get people thinking about, their will, and it doesn't mean you're passing tomorrow. It means you're planning for your legacy. You're planning for your children. You're planning, to make sure that everything is safe and secure, and the decisions that you desire are not left up to someone else. So
Yeah.
we try to offer that as well for our adults and our young adults to get them started. We have what we call Thrive sessions for our young adults for them to think about and be proactive about their future decisions. And with ALS is the for-profit portion. ALS LLC is the for-profit portion of Olive Tree Resources. And in that sector, we deal with government entities. We strive to get government contracts so that we can provide those professional development opportunities because my background's in government as well. So I had to stay true to something that was dear to me. My major in undergrad was government and economics. And so I knew I would be doing something that pertained to that. So I still utilize everything that God has allowed me to be a part of. So the government contracts are part of the ALS LLC, and we work with like nonprofit organizations and churches to provide services for them as well through that side. For organizations who can afford that. So the nonprofit is for our community and to make sure it's affordable and the services we have are available. And the for-profit side is to build up our professional community and our government entities.
That's awesome. Well, I didn't know that you had a background in government as well, so
Mhm.
you're gonna be the next elected official.
I don't know about I think I like just working with the people without probably a lot of the other aspects of it involved. The day
The
to day
politics.
really. Huh?
The politics.
The politics, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Uh, so I enjoy working with the people in that way. So even my government experience was with bankruptcy court, and so it dealt with that financial piece, which I enjoy. So court was where I served for 10 years. And so that was just impactful to me because I realized that sometimes people do fall on hard times. And that particular structure of our government was set up to give relief. And so we know that there's some people who may misuse it, but it's a need. And
Mhm.
for those who need it, it is phenomenal opportunity for them to restart and have a fresh opportunity to get things in order financially for themselves. And then the other 5 years of my government time was in district court, and I worked with a lot of prisoners, unfortunately, who were serving time in the federal system, which that's the highest level. So
Mhm.
it's not pleasant. But that experience helps me to walk in compassion for some situations for individuals and help even our younger individuals to recognize that's a place they don't want to go.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I think, it's great that you brought that up, but that financial piece, that experience with working in the bankruptcy court, I'm sure that's what's kind of carried over to where you want to help people from not just the mental,
Hmm.
but it's a whole one-stop shop, all well-being, and that financial piece is a part of well-being, because how many people
Absolutely.
are stressed out because they can't pay their bills, or
Yes.
why do people miss work or call in sick? That financial is a major stressor in a lot of people's lives. So truly, I love what you're doing and integrating that piece, because it is so important.
Yes.
And you're right. There are people that abuse those avenues that we do have, but there are people that do fall on unfortunate times, and it's great that it is there for that.
That's right.
Being in the background that I have, in the lending and the financial piece, I've been in a little over 20 years, and I've dealt with folks that have gone through bankruptcy, and I've done collections myself, and
Hmm.
worked with attorneys and garnishments, and that is a hard place to come from as well, when I know I have to move forward on a garnishment on someone when I know what they're going through.
Yes.
But things don't stop, unfortunately. We can't just press the pause button on some folks, and not to push them in down that avenue. But I love that you have that resource, and you kind of intertwine that into your therapy. So that's
Mhm.
phenomenal. So
Yes.
phenomenal. What
Yeah,
are s-
our goal is to try to have practical programming that can assist individuals with the steps that they need to come out of those particular aspects that impact our mental well-being, um, opposed to just telling them, "Hey, this is what you need to do." If we have a program that they can then integrate the actual practice of it, then it only enhances them to actually be accountable to the process. So that's how we try to do that. And I wanted to mention this real quick because I thought it was so awesome that you brought up the fact that financial is a part of that wellness piece. I want to just mention to the individuals who'll be listening in, so thank you all for listening in, the 8 dimensions of wellness. The 8 dimensions of wellness are vocational, social, physical, environmental, intellectual, spiritual, emotional, and financial. So if you look at all 8 of those aspects of your life, then you can see in the center, if you were to see the diagram of this breakdown, in the middle is wellness. So if we ever feel like we're off and it's like something like I'm off balance, you can hit those 8 areas and see, physically I'm off balance right now. That's one thing I can work on to help my wellness reset a little bit for myself. So those are things you can look at. You can look and say, well, intellectually right now, I'm not feeling that I'm really engaged. Maybe the circle of individuals that I'm currently engaged with or that I'm constantly with are not intellectually challenging me. So I need to find me a different I need to go to Rebecca's networking session because there's gonna be people there who's gonna tap into my intellectual stimulation. And then I'm gonna feel like, wow, I feel so much better. My wellness balance it out. So just those who would like to consider that, just look at those 8 dimensions and just see where you feel like you're off. And then we can you can see and adjust what needs to be enhanced.
Yeah, I love that. I'm gonna have to get with you after this to talk about that, or if you don't mind
Sure.
sharing that with me. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I agree, like that spiritual piece. This year for me, I don't really do New Year's resolutions,
Mhm.
But this year for me, my focus was diving in a little bit more spiritually. I feel like I've really tapped into some of those other areas that you've mentioned. But that piece was something, there's a big difference for me going to church. And you don't have to go to church. It's not
Mhm.
about that, but it's about being with a group amongst a group of people
Yes.
worshiping. It's much different than sitting at home watching on TV, which I do from time to time.
Mhm.
Forgive me, but I'm going to admit
Yes.
I do. Our lives are busy, but I want to make sure that that remains a key focus for me is making sure that I'm serving to the best of my ability and that I'm being the best that I can be. Um, and able to give back to others. So I'm filling my jar, and that is part of it. So my focus this year was, I want to be able to at least once a month make sure that I'm going out to worship and surround myself with other people. You
So good.
never know who you're going to meet. You don't know where that relationship might take you. I'm not saying we're going out, in the dating world or anything like
Uh-huh.
that as far as
Uh-huh.
me.
Yeah.
I'm just saying for them to elevate you. You talked about that mental well-being and that intellectual piece. And meeting other people that are doing like-minded things or doing
Yeah.
good things for the community, and they're evolving and they're not staying stagnant. Though those are the folks that I want to be surrounded by. So I want to put myself in situations to be surrounded by those people that are doing those good community or elevation of themselves. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying that just because you don't go to church, again, I meet people like you mentioned where they are. That doesn't mean that you're not doing good things for the community or, everybody has their own way of worshiping or, speaking to a greater source or higher power. But that's been a focus for me this year. So I felt like that was off
That's
for
like
me. And I'm like, I've gotta tap into that, that is a core piece that I need in my life. And that has helped me, talk about things that have helped people through things. There's been times we've all experienced, probably childhood traumas, some
mhm.
a lot worse than others, but I don't know that there's anybody on the planet that has had a perfect childhood. I mean,
No.
let's be real, we all have experienced things. And I'm not saying my story is worse than others, but I had things that I needed to work through. And, throughout my life, I have talked with therapists. I'll be 100% open with that. And to me, it truly was a godsend to have someone that is an unbiased source to talk with. It made a huge difference in me being able to see the bigger picture of what I was going through at the time and to work through that versus talking to a family member that may have been involved in the situation in some way, shape, or form, or, not able to really look at it from my perspective and what I went through during that time. So, what do you feel like some of the benefits of having a therapist are?
Wow, you said it best. I think that's a great point that you have a neutral party, someone who's not involved or know anything about it per se, um, and also is not going to have probably the emotional tie to it because they've grown up with you or they're your cousin or the closeness there, the familiarity. So to have that neutral voice is important, as well as someone who's skilled in listening. Sometimes, unfortunately, our family is a source of some of that trauma, and not intentionally at times. Um, but once again, back to my point about parents and us just learning because there's no cookie cutter in the process. We just get better as time goes on. I had to learn how to be a good listener, and people who are in the profession, if they have begin the process of continuing to master that skill, they should be good at that. And so for you to be able to go to someone that can listen to you and to hear you and to provide opportunities to work through that and show you the empowerment that you have, That's important because sometimes people dearest to us don't have the skill. It's not that they don't want to assist. They just don't have the skill to do it because they haven't gone and gotten their degree or taken the time through classes and um, practicums and things like that to learn that and to master it. So it's important. It's important, and people should be open to that. I think after the pandemic, it has put it to the forefront that pretty much all of us need it. And there are some that are still hesitant because there's stigmas behind it, such as myself when I told you what I dealt with. Some people have dealt with harsher things than that that makes them say, "No way, I'm not going to a counselor. I will never do that." But hopefully through their walk, something will help them. And I'm proud of the younger generation because they're at a stage where they can understand that it's okay to make it a life practice for them. If they start now, it doesn't mean that something's wrong with you. It means that you're actually being proactive in your well being. And once people get that concept, it will be just as routine as going for your annual cleaning of your teeth. So I always share this analogy too with my clients to make them feel comfortable on the first visit. Like, hey, how old are you? And if somebody, let's just say they're 35. If you hadn't gone to the dentist for 35 years, what would your mouth look like? Like, what would your smile look like? What would your gums be going through? How many cavities would you have? A lot. 35 years and you've never gone to the dentist? Well, what do we do if you're 35? What do we do for our brain? What do we do for our mental wellness? We don't have check-ins. We have physicals. We go get physicals done. People go get immunizations. They say routine with a whole lot of things, but we don't say routine with our checkups in regards to our mental health. That's not fair to our brain. One of the most powerful functioning organs in our body. You know what I'm saying? The most needful thing to keep us going, like our car engine. If we didn't do an oil change on our car, man, you can mess up a nice vehicle by not getting an oil change. So we don't want to do that to our brain. We don't want to do that. Go check in, have those talks, be able to share. And sometimes it may need to be more consistent based on what you're dealing with. And sometimes it could just be on a per needed basis, depending on how well you're going or how well you're doing. So keeping that in mind for people, and that is important. So don't have your checkups in all other areas of your life, and you don't do it with your mental health. Keep that on your list of healthcare needs because it is a need and it should be important.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's perfect analogy. Everything you just said. I mean, it truly makes sense, and you are 100% correct.
Yeah.
One thing that has it made me think about is there was a time that I was going through some severe anxiety. I'll admit I've had anxiety, especially the last probably 12 years of my life.
Mhm.
Not sure of the culprit of it. Childhood trauma coupled with, marriage, divorce, kids, financials, work, stress, putting additional stress on my body because I'm very type A. I don't know, just a multiple facet thing here. But, was dealing with, some anxiety and had my first panic attack when my husband, he had a brain tumor
Mm.
and he is fine. It was benign. He did have to go through radiation, but during that surgery, it was a 10 plus hour surgery.
Wow.
And I was just completely stressed. We were just worried. He was 40 at the time. So this was 2018. And so I felt this, my adrenaline, something coming on. And ended up having a panic attack, and so I went back to therapy after that, to kind of work through what's going on. I've got to get this out, and so that's when I started to dive into some childhood things, just just things that I had experienced through my life. But during that session, we focused too on a gratitude journal.
Mhm.
because that anxiety, I needed to feed my brain with things that weren't just worry and negativity all the time. I needed to start feeding it positive. And so, you can correct me here because I'm not a therapist, but your brain, you have information coming in and going out, and it takes far more positive feeding in your brain to outweigh that negative that's coming in. I don't remember the ratio if there is one, but when I started doing that gratitude journal, it really helped. And it would be things from, I'm glad to have running water today. I was
Yeah.
glad that I'm truly blessed to be able to wash my clothes and brush my teeth. It was starting to really think about things that we may take for granted, that others may not even have or have access to. And so when I started doing that, it truly really helped me get into a better frame of mind, because mindset is so important. Um,
Uh-huh.
is that something that you do with your clients? That gratitude journal, and do you feel like that's something that really helps?
Yes, very much so. Because what you've just explained is the beautiful aspects of our brain through neuroscience. And if I could go back and do it all over again, honestly, I would probably make neuroscience my major because it's fascinating. Of the power of the brain, how it can recreate and rewire itself. It takes some work. It's not easy, but it can rewire itself and produce new neural paths for you, even though through our trauma that we experience and certain neural paths are altered and thrown off, we can go through techniques such as that. That's why some of the tools that maybe your therapist may give you, just try it. Your willingness to be consistent with those tools help create new paths. And so you move from this kind of um mindset to where it's a set mindset. You know, that sounded weird. Set mindset. That sounded weird. But you're wanting to produce, what I'm trying to say is a growth mindset, that you're open to growth and you're allowing those new pathways to be structured for your brain. And those techniques and tools are utilized to basically redirect you. You may be constantly maybe thinking of something that then elevates anxiety. You use a tool such as that, it redirects your thought processes that then chemically in your body produces maybe joy. Like you're saying, it creates gratitude of things that you probably have overlooked because your mind was focused on the things that then escalate the fear factors and the hesitancies and all those things that make our anxiety go boop, 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 and then you redirect and think of those wonderful things, and then it levels us back out and balances, but then it also creates those new paths for you. And you will find yourself not being as anxious because you now have redirected some things chemically and from neural aspects and your neuroplasticity
Yeah.
aspects of your brain. So yeah,
Yeah.
it scientifically works. It's powerful.
Mhm.
As I mentioned, I want to say it again. It's not easy. It does take work. So I want people to understand the importance of working with a therapist, but then also being consistent with it, not being as hard on yourself, because we as humans are so hard on ourselves. Not being hard on ourselves, give ourselves grace to continue the process. If it doesn't work the first time, I just continue that and be patient with it. And it's not going to be an overnight process. So for example, the person I utilized who was 35 years old in a session, and it's their first session. All of that work and trauma and encounters and life experiences that they've had in 30 years, 3 sessions probably is not gonna fix that 35 years worth of plaque that has built up. I'm going back to my analogy, right? Like, the dentist analogy, like, plaque for 30 years, like, you're gonna probably go back a few times for them to get all of that off. Same thing with counseling. If you haven't been and it's 30 years of issues and all those unspoken, undealt with matters, Give yourself grace, give yourself patience, give yourself time to just be consistent, find you a good person that you connect with. And that's another note that I want for people. Just because you go to one counselor and maybe you all don't have a good fit, don't leave the process because you do have to find someone that's a good fit. I'm not a good fit for everybody.
Mhm.
And I tell people that from the first visit. It doesn't mean that I'm less than a professional. It doesn't mean that you're a bad client. It means that we maybe just don't connect well, maybe on a personality level. And you have to probably get with someone who does fit for you. That is important.
Mhm.
Um, and then remain consistent with the work that you need to do because it is work and it's not easy. But you'll thank yourself. Like your future self will be like, thank you so much for doing that.
It becomes second nature. There's things that I still, I'm not talking with a therapist at this moment. But there are things that are now intertwined in my life that were not prior to that, that continue to help keep me in a good headspace.
Okay.
Especially, there's been some things recently, and so it's helping me make sure that I'm staying positive, and glass half full.
Mhm.
We're going to get through this. So it really does work. So the homework that the therapist gives you, it is just as important as your session. And I promise if you stick with it, it will work because it's worked for me. I truly know. And you're right.
I'm a
Not
witness.
every Yes. Yes. And not everybody is a good fit. I can admit too, in my past I've had multiple, and
Yeah.
the last one was the one that really was a click for me. She's retired now. But she was a click for me, and it really worked. And that's when I started putting in the work.
Yeah.
Before that I was not. So it took that click,
Mhm.
that connection with her,
Right.
and she met me where I was, and she was understanding, and she listened. You mentioned that piece, and that's truly important because we can hear what people are saying, but are we truly listening? Are we trying to fix the problem for them? I can admit I'm guilty of that. I'm trying to be a fixer all the time, and it's like, whoa, they need to work through this. I don't need to come in, swoop in, and fix it. They need to figure this out so that they can be elevated, instead of me fixing all the time or
That's right.
trying to. So yes,
Mhm. Yep.
yeah. But is there any upcoming events you have or anything that you would like those listeners to be aware of?
Yes, I do wanna mention we're in the month of love, February, and every single February is our annual fundraiser. So individuals who desire to maybe partner or to sow into, the services that we offer for teens and families at modest means to no cost, you can visit our website and just learn more about us or have questions, please send us questions so that we can answer those and give more, detail of where these funds go to assist our community. It's sewn right back into the community. But I did want to maybe just mention that so people can have an opportunity to share the love and follow their heart. I think that's important too. I believe when people follow their heart, that's when we get the most work done. That is the lasting impact because it's genuinely from the heart. So I would ask people to just kind of maybe check us out. Our website is olivetreepartner.org or .com, either one, but Olive Tree Partner, because our goal is to partner with our community and meet the needs social service wise.
Awesome. Love that. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Those of
Thank
you
you for
listening,
letting me for sharing. Thank
yes,
you for letting me share that. Yeah, appreciate
yes,
that.
absolutely. Those of you listening, I'd love to hear your thoughts and experience on these topics. April, if you'd like to share with the audience how they can connect with you.
Yes, the best way is probably through our website, olivetreepartner.org or olivetreepartner.com. We are on Facebook, Olive Tree Resources. You can also follow us on Instagram. I would say Facebook is probably our most interactive social media platform. If you would love to join our page and just to stay up to date with services that we offer and share them and join them as needed is our desire for individuals.
Details on how to connect with April will be in the show notes. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast for more insightful discussions. Thank you for joining us on Balance and Bottom Lines with Rebecca. Remember, the balance between personal well-being and professional success is key. Stay tuned for our next episode. Until then, keep striving for excellence in both your personal and professional life. Thank you so much, April.
Thank you.